Go below the surface on an adventure into Idaho's water world. Meet a North Idaho man who turns ordinary trash into extraordinary treasures. And take a fly fishing trip to eastern Idaho that nets a sizable profit.
Rainbow, wild rainbow.
Hello and welcome to Exploring Idaho. Our state is filled with lakes and rivers, and we use them for all kinds of things like fishing, swimming, and boating. But rarely do we experience what life is like under these waters. Here at the MK Nature Center, you can peer through a window to that world. Here, fish swim freely in their natural habitat. But still, it's hard to feel what it's like to be there. If only we could break through to the other side. Exploring Idaho's Jennifer Eisenhart met a group of people who have learned how to do just that, and she joins us now with the story.
Well, Dee, it's a lot easier for these fish to swim underwater than it is for people. So it could be said that it takes a real thirst for adventure to learn to scuba dive. We hooked up with the Boise Dive Shop to learn the ins and outs, ups and downs of scuba. Idaho's waters hold beautiful secrets. Rocky terrain is colored with plant life, and odd little creatures scratch along the bottom.
You're actually weightless underwater, and you can float, you just drift.
Down here, it's peaceful, insulated from the noise above.
Just drift through, move your arms, and you kind of just float with the current.
To divers, it's a whole other world. But to get here, you have to earn it.
Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're just going to each read a question. You read a question, you read a question, you read a question, you read a question, I'll read a question, okay?
Above the water, in this scuba certification class, students learned there's a lot more to diving than just breathing from a tank.
Atmospheric pressure is about 14.7 pounds per square inch.
They study things like atmospheric pressure, buoyancy, and decompression.
33, 66, 99. We know each of these adds 1 atmosphere pressure, right? So if I'm at 33 feet, I have how many pressures on me, absolute? 2. 66, I have how many? 3. 99, I have how many? 4.
It's complicated, and each student has to memorize a book full of information to pass a certification test.
You got it.
Outside, tennis shoes stand in for fins while students practice with a compass.
No, you know how they do horses? They kind of keep blinders on them so they can't cheat?
Blinded with blankets, it's a slow and humble lesson on navigation.
Slow and steady and taking your time is way better. All right, that's perfect.
But perfect in the parking lot is a lot easier than perfect underwater.
Okay, grab your fins.
Here is where the real lessons begin, at a local swimming pool. Scuba instructor Dave McDermott gives students like Valerie Metzger their first dose of diving.
I got so many clothes on I can hardly move.
With wetsuits and masks, fins and tanks, the divers suit up to jump in. In about 10 feet of water, the beginners will practice diving skills that until now they've only read about in books.
Pools are kind of a security blanket to brand new divers. They get in the pool, there's sides, there's a bottom that they know they can see.
On the bottom, the class gets to work.
We teach you how to take your mask off underwater and breathe without a mask. How to remove your equipment underwater and put it back on. We teach you how to clear a regulator of water. If somebody's diving without what we would call an alternate air source, we teach them how to share one regulator back and forth so they can get to the surface safely.
All of this is a good start, but it's still not the underwater world these students were looking for. That comes next when they take their lessons to the field. The Hagerman Valley is known for its clean spring water.
And it's very pretty.
Thousands of springs burst right out of the banks. Wildlife thrives on nearby lakes and streams.
Some of the clearest water in the United States is right out of Idaho in that valley.
And that's why Dave and his diving group are here.
The visibility here is going to be great.
I'm joining the group today, and everyone's excited to get in the water. But first, it's always good to have someone check your equipment.
And we'll do a buddy check on you. Okay, you ready? Check the buoyancy.
Rico checks the air in my backup regulator.
That works. Okay, let's check your air.
A look at the tank makes sure it's working.
Okay, here's your regulator.
And Rico shows me what to do if someone else runs out of air.
If somebody comes up to you and they're out of air, you would give them the one in your mouth, and you'd put this one in yours, right? Okay, very good.
Divers add some final layers to guard against the cold, and the moment we've been working for arrives.
It is just a beautiful sight to see living creatures in their own habitat, swimming and eating and being alive.
Current carries us on a free-flowing tour downstream.
Every time you do it, you'll see something different. You'll see a different fish, or maybe a crawdad, or something that you didn't see before.
The sun above the surface plays on the bottom in a mosaic of light.
Light is really neat. If the water's moving in a particular position, if there's waves, it'll bend that light differently, and so you get a lot of different colors.
Clumps of horned pondwort glow in an electric green. Everything looks really graceful underwater, but it's a lot of hard work to scuba dive. We've only been under for about an hour, and already I'm tired. The whole crew is ready to call it a day, so reluctantly it's back to the world above. The sounds of the valley continue as usual, but now we know one of its secrets.
We've given these people a whole new world to go see, and that's the neat thing about diving.
Oh, it's pretty amazing under there.
And it's so clear.
Yeah, beautiful. Normally fresh water isn't that clear, but the Hagerman Valley has some of the cleanest water in North America.
A great place to dive.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, Jen, thank you very much. Speaking of clean and clear, if you've been feeling like you need to do something with all that junk around your house, we have some interesting answers coming up. Idaho's King of Clean gives some historical perspective to housework. And a North Idaho man perfects another option, transforming junk to art.
That isn't junk. Probably not to him, it isn't. It's probably a piece of sculpture made out of art.
One of the nice things about the MK Nature Center is how clean it is. You won't find any litter laying around here. But if you did, the man you're about to meet would definitely pick it up, and he'd go even farther than that. David Dose has made a hobby out of turning ordinary junk into works of art.
Actually, that is something I was looking for.
Looks like David Dose has picked another winner.
I've tried to go beyond just hooking up a bunch of mufflers.
That's not to say he wouldn't use a muffler.
That's a leg muscle. Doesn't that look like a leg muscle? You know, I don't know if this is artistic or if it's from that motorcycle accident when I hit my head as a kid, but it looks like a leg muscle to me, so.
So it's a leg muscle. It goes on this horse, which carries this knight, which stands in David's backyard.
Technically, when a horse is in this bad a shape, you're supposed to shoot him.
After all, it is a pile of garbage. From the lampshade helmet to the conduit cable tail, down to the bicycle gear spur on the horseman's heel.
A lot of it was sitting in garages and backyards. A lot of it was sitting along the road.
Under the heat of the welder, old headlights make hooves, and shock absorbers become legs.
Then the horse himself is made out of several layers of garbage can lids. One customer in town actually asked me to build a piece but make it not look too junky.
If it looked too junky, they wouldn't let him build the high school mascot or let the strip mall be bombed by the Red Baron and his bed spring salute.
Well, you got horseshoes there, you got chain there,
There's
you
chains,
got, and there's a drip pan of an oil can there. That isn't junk. Probably not to him. It isn't.
It's
It's
art.
probably a piece of sculpture made
It's a type
out
of art.
Yeah, you know.
More than a dozen of David's sculptures decorate the street corners of Kellogg.
We get a lot of tourists stopping and looking for pieces.
Good, aren't they?
Out of junk, yeah, it's all junk.
Whether it's dinner forks dressing up this nutcracker or Don Quixote rounded out with wrenches, it's all part of David's own art form called
Resemblism. I think art should resemble something.
like a train.
And they'll look at the train there and they'll say, oh, that's really, is that significant? Does that have any meaning? I said, yes, it's a train, you know. And, you know, what do you call it? Well, the train, you know.
What do you call this?
Art supplies, and it's loosely sorted. I can remember where everything is.
And everything stays where it is with help from the family watch cat.
He's good. He keeps on, make sure I don't have any mice messing around with my art supplies. That's the oddball pile. I've got an oven rack collection that's second to none.
And an imagination that's turning ordinary trash into extraordinary treasures.
Now, his head is a Kawasaki, I believe.
Oh, I just love what he's able to do with junk. And by the way, David prefers to call his work recycled art. You'll find 12 of his sculptures on the street corners of Kellogg, so later on in the show we'll tell you how to get a tour map. But if the very idea of a backyard junk pile makes your skin crawl, then wait till you see this next story. John Miller is here to tell us about a man who I'm willing to bet is even pickier than you are.
Well, you've probably seen Don Aslett on TV talk shows. Don is known as the king of cleaning, and for good reason. He believes it should be fast and fun. Don's cleaning palace is in Pocatello, and recently he swept us through on a whirlwind tour of his brooms and mops and all that makes up the history of cleaning.
All these little trinkets you have signify something that has to do with cleaning.
Pardon his bathroom humor, but Don Aslett has worn a lot of aprons in his day. Seems the cleaning king is also known as Don Juan of the John.
We're proud of what we do for a living.
Maybe Don's collection of bathroom cleaners has gone to his head. He's got them all from Congo cream wax to kitchen cleanser.
Oxidol.
Don's obsession with cleaning and toilets began swirling out of control back in his Boy Scout years.
That's a little baby toilet. That was just the thing I used for my neckerchief. It really worked.
And Don really worked, cleaning his way through college.
Good exercise, a lot of fun, and paid my way through school.
And it paid off later as Don began taking his toilet trinkets to the big cities.
I've been on Oprah and Sally Jesse and Regis and CNN. I do a lot of national shows.
And wherever he goes...
You walk through airports with it. Oh, yes. And, you know, I wrote on a fragile. If you drop it, it'll spill on you.
No problem if you're wearing the Mop Your Heart bra. Willie Mop Nelson can handle any spill. The mop on this handle's from the turn of the century.
Cleaning is the world's oldest profession.
A profession that's become an obsession for Don.
Here's kind of another unique broom. This is when you first got married, you bought this broom, and then when you got old, you had a cane, you know, when the broom wore out.
They're all worn out. Like old dinosaurs, these prehistoric picker-uppers are pretty much extinct.
That's a Packard vacuum.
You probably remember all the old names.
The first Electrolux.
If you're old enough, you might remember how they worked. Or didn't work.
Boy, you really had to vacuum to get anything done with that.
Don's more interested with the way they went.
And the bella went, see that thing, how that goes in there? And you put your mop down and went doing, 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 doing. This is what we call a Texas broom. I guess they did some tall sweeping in Texas.
It all makes you wonder how one guy could be so hung up on housework.
Cleaning is just fun. You get good exercise. You learn a lot. You meet a lot of people. It's refreshing. And you accomplish something. So it never has been work.
What has been work is collecting all 1,800 pieces.
Basically, our end goal is to have a Disneyland of cleaning museum where people come and buff and vacuum.
And maybe even go like this. It is a huge collection of stuff. In fact, it's getting so big, Don says he's going to have to move it to a bigger building. So if you're ever in Pocatello, you might want to check that out.
I wouldn't miss it. He is such a unique character.
He's hilarious.
Well, we'll be right back with more of Exploring Idaho. Anglers are hooked on the Henry's Fork. Coming up, a fly fishing trip to one of the biggest little fishing holes in the country.
Way to go. Rainbow, wild rainbow.
Welcome back. The creek here provides a wonderful natural setting for trout, as you can see. It's just one of the many man-made habitats here at the MK Nature Center. But in Idaho, you don't have to go very far to find the real thing. We ventured to the eastern part of the state in search of that natural scenery, and we found some of the best fly fishing in the country. It's a new day on the Henry's Fork of the Snake River.
Probably the most beautiful river in the country.
And home to hundreds of species of wildlife.
It's a real spiritual renewal to be able to come to areas like this.
Endangered trumpeter swans glide through the marshes while sandhill cranes nest on the meadows. Nearby, the rich grasses provide food for moose. Here, the chain of nature lives undisturbed.
This is really a great place because you've got the Tetons in the background and you've got all the large trees and the wildlife.
And there are hunters. This osprey is searching the river below for an unsuspecting trout. But he gives up, and this time a fish is spared. Another link in the chain hovers close to the water. This fresh hatch of mayflies will live about 24 hours. In that time, they'll mate and lay eggs, then fall to the water and become food for fish.
Right now, it seems like these caddis might be what they're eating, so try one of those.
The ability to imitate nature may be a fly fisherman's greatest asset.
Pinch the barb down so it doesn't hurt the fish or us.
And the greatest place to fish may be the Henry's Fork of the Snake River.
Some of those are pretty tiny out there, but there's some pretty nice ones rising also.
Tom Grimes is a fly fishing guide. Mary Field is learning.
Mend your line up there. There you go. And then just follow your fly now. See your fly? There.
Mary gets one.
Oh.
But it gets away.
I'm gonna come up and eat your fly.
Okay. Yeah, he was right there.
Yeah, that's a pretty nice one. Wasn't huge, but he's 12, 13 inches look like.
Just another lesson.
That's part of learning.
That's right.
Mary keeps casting for more.
It's one of those things that you never truly master, but you can always learn something and progress. I think even for people that have been fishing for quite a while.
The excellent fishing on the Henry's Fork attracts anglers of all abilities. Most go home satisfied, but if you ask the people who have spent years with the sport, they'll tell you the rewards of fly fishing go much further than just catching fish.
It's satisfying your curiosity of what is under the water. The unknown becomes known when you catch a fish.
That unknown stretches for miles when the Henry's Fork winds through this box canyon. All along the way, fly fishermen line the banks.
How's it going today?
It's going great. We've been catching fish.
Others float the canyon in boats. And here on the water is where a husband and wife from Seattle are trying their luck.
It's fantastic. It's magnificent. I've done some other what are called, streams and creeks, and they certainly are nothing like this.
It's their first fishing trip on the Henry's Fork.
Really exciting.
And rewarding.
Hit. Way to go. Now reel, good. Oh, great.
It's a nice big fish.
So it takes a while for Cheryl to bring him in.
Keep reeling, you're doing fine.
But finally, she wins the tug of war.
Way to go. Rainbow, wild rainbow.
The fish is let go, but Cheryl won't soon forget it.
Catching that fish was, there aren't any problems in the world anymore. That was great.
And a great vacation for anyone, whether or not they catch the big one.
I think a lot of it's just being outside, being out in nature. Look at this scenery. It's incredible. And sometimes you catch fish. And that's a real bonus.
Oh, that is such beautiful country. The Henry's Fork actually winds through Idaho's newest park. In 1963, 11,000 acres were donated to form the park. For our Idaho puzzler, do you know the name of this park or who donated it to the state? We'll have the answer when Exploring Idaho continues. Can you name Idaho's newest park? The answer is Hagerman State Park in eastern Idaho. In 1963, the Hagerman family donated nearly 11,000 acres to the state and designated the land as a nature preserve. Visitors can tour the park and see the Hagerman family ranch houses still standing today. If you have any questions for us on any of the stories you've seen on our show, call for the Exploring Idaho Field Notes. The number is 1-800-443-2461. Be sure to ask for show number 129. You've been able to see a little bit of the Nature Center on today's show. I'd encourage you to bring the whole family out and see it for yourself. It really is a great place to visit. And we'll take one last look as we say goodbye until next time. So this sturgeon that we